Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I wanted to show you how I made this cheesy puffs squishy kind of packet. So to start off with, I took some small cuts of memory foam, and these were just offcuts that I had from like bigger projects and stuff, but I really wanted to use them up and make them into smaller squishies as I just have loads of offcuts. So basically what I did was made little cylinder shapes and just smoothed them out until they was kind of nice and rounded like little cheese puffs. So I made a couple straight ones like this one, and then I went ahead and made a few curved ones by just curving my scissors and then smoothing it out afterwards so that I had a nice kind of curved, smoothed, cheesy puff kind of shape. So I actually went ahead and made 6 of these in total. I made 2 of the straight ones, 2 of the slightly curved ones, and then I actually made 2 which were kind of in between the curved and the straight ones to make them all a little bit different and just give the effect of cheese puffs, as we all know that they're not the same shape inside the packet, they're all kind of different. So you can make as many of these as you like, but I just made 6. Once these were all fully shaped, I then went ahead and mixed up some puffy paint mixture, and start off with I started with a white puffy paint with yellow in, and then I added some red. This didn't actually do a lot because I actually had so much light yellow mixed up, but then I went ahead and found some orange puffy paint which I didn't realise that I had, to be honest, so I wouldn't have mixed it if I realised I had it before, but I just went ahead and mixed a kind of light pale orange, and this was showing up on my viewfinder as quite yellow, so I'm not really sure as to what colour this is going to show up on your screen. I know sometimes when I've done like green it can sometimes show up yellow, but rest assured this is actually like a light orange, but you know, once it dries it will dry a little bit darker, so that's why I kind of wanted to mix my own. What I then did with my jumbo lollipop stick was I just spread this all over each kind of cheese puff and kind of smoothed it in with my hands. Now this did actually get a little bit messy, so if you're doing this I would advise obviously using a pair of gloves. I just honestly couldn't be bothered to go and get a pair of gloves, so I just went ahead and had really messy hands for this part and just washed them after I did all 6. So in order to let mine dry, I just popped them down onto a plastic carrier bag and just let them air dry, and it took about 2 hours in total for the orange to completely dry. Some people do ask me like when painting the whole shape and stuff if like the bottom of the paint gets funny, but once you do the first layer it doesn't. It's only when you do like really thick layers of puffy paint that like you can have a problem if you lay it down to dry. So once all my little cheesy puffs were fully dry, I then took them one by one and just painted on little faces with some black puffy paint. Now this was quite hard because usually I do a couple layers of the like base colour, so like the orange, and then painting on the faces is a lot easier because you haven't got the like foam texture. So some of my faces were a little bit questionable, but I think it still turned out pretty cute. They just weren't as neat as I wanted. I made a few little different faces on mine this time, some with like a little open mouth and some with kind of little just normal smiles, and I think this really helped kind of give the effect that all these little cheese puffs were like little individual guys and a little happy in their packet. So yeah, I'm really happy that I did that. So once I'd let the black puffy paint dry, what I then did was moved on with some white, and I just added highlight to each of the eyes on every single one of the cheese puffs. Once the white was dry, my cheese puffs were then complete. So next I moved on to making the packet, and this would be 100% easier if you had orange paper. I didn't, so I just coloured mine in, and basically I just took a white A4 piece of paper and just did a couple of strips in the orange marker, and the marker I used was the Crayola Super Tip. What I then did was took a black fine liner pen and just wrote out the word cheese puffs. Now I did actually change this to cheesy puffs because like I didn't feel like the cheese was centered enough, so it kind of needed an extra letter, so luckily I was still able to make that cheesy. So what I then did was just added some extra shadows and detail with that same black fine liner and just went round all of the letters to make them a little bit neater and just a little bit more prominent on the packaging. As you can see here, this is where I put the Y in because I just felt like it needed to be extended over, and then I went ahead and just kind of went over the word puffs and added a few little dots in between to give it a little bit extra detail again. With a nice turquoise colour, I then coloured in the word cheesy, and then with a lime green, I just coloured in the word puffs. I did these two colours as I felt like these would stand out the most on the orange. What I then did was kind of draw out the rough kind of sizing that I wanted the packet to be, so that I didn't like colour it all in and waste any ink off my pen. And I just coloured in and around all of the writing and just down and around the bottom, around kind of where I wanted a window of clear plastic to be. So what I then did was cut out this shape to make it nice and neat, and then I went ahead and made a slit in that rectangle bit that I wanted to cut out and just cut out a kind of rectangle. I then took one of those clear resealable bags and I just cut out a square of this and just stuck it to the back so that it was all sealed and that square had a transparent film over. What I then did was tape this whole thing down to another white piece of paper, and then I went back in with my white Posca pen and just kind of added some detail in to the rest of the packet. This is completely like optional, you don't have to do this, but I just felt like it needed a little bit more decoration. So then I decided I needed some little cheesy puffs on the white kind of clear transparent bit, so I just went ahead and drew these out with a orange Posca pen, and I just feel like this added like the final touch that I needed. So as you can see here, it's all completely taped down like I just said. I didn't actually film that bit because, well, I just didn't, you know how to tape over. So you just want to make this like you're making a normal paper squishy by cutting off all the excess and then sticking down the edges. I just cut one side at a time and then laid my tape lengthways across it and folded it over so that the front piece was joined up with the back piece, and I was able to make a bag-like shape. Once I had both sides and the bottom completely taped up, what I then did was cut off the top excess part, and this is where I took the grip seal part of the bag that we just cut up and I attached this to the top. I basically wanted my bag to be resealable, so this was a good idea if you want yours to be like resealable, also that you're able to shut it so that your cheesy puffs don't fall out. You just want to cut it to size so that it will fit inside of your packet kind of really neatly and just nice and snug. You'll want to cut off both sides on the left side and the right side so that when you tape it inside, like you can kind of get really into it. So what you want to do is just line up the top of that clear bit with the top of the inside of the bag and just tape each piece on either side. And you'll want to do this while the grip seal is still kind of like done up so that it lines up right once you undo it and redo it, if that makes any sense. It's really hard to describe, but you basically just want to stick the grip seal bit inside of the cheese puff packets, either side, like on the right side of the packet. Once the grip seal part is then complete, you're able to open it and just like kind of snap it shut, just the same way you would do with the normal grip seal bag. So what I then did was just opened up the bag and placed all the little cheesy puffs inside with all their little faces facing forward so that we could see all their cute little smiles and stuff. Now you can obviously put them in any which way you want, but I just placed mine in like kind of nicely so that I could see all their little faces, which I think really helped with the kawaii nature of this because I just love them so much. And you know, you don't have to put faces on them, of course not, but I like to put faces on absolutely everything, so obviously my cheesy puffs were going to be cute little ones with cute little faces. Once they were all inside, I just kind of closed it up using that grip seal bit at the top, like I said, just snapping it shut and then moving my hand across to seal it all up and keep all the little cheese puffs inside. Once all the cheese puffs were fully inside, as you can see here, they're then ready to be squished. Now this is why I like this DIY so much, because it almost acts like a paper squishy, but with squishies obviously inside that you can then take out and use as normal squishies, and I just feel like it works really well and they just look so cute. Now I'm super happy with how this one turned out. I'm also super happy with my lighting today as I've worked so hard on all my settings and everything like that, so super happy with how this video turned out for once, which is, you know, amazing. I absolutely love these little guys so much, so Yeah, I really do think that this kind of works better as like a paper squishy rather than like the little squishies themselves, because they are quite small, so they don't really work out to be slow rising. But yeah, I just really love it. So if you did like this video, then please give it a thumbs up, as it really helps me with what videos you like to see, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Bye!